What's up? What's up? We should have people jumping into the chat here shortly. What's good? Green on Jesus. Number one. In the stream. Ants of J, Alex Thompson, Blake, Surrender, Mush, Madison, Curran, Benedili. 101. What up? We got people coming in. What's up? It's been a while since we have been on a live stream. Can you guys hear me okay? I got my mic set up. Hopefully it's decent enough. What up, Jackson? Flame. Man, you guys are moving so fast I can't even read them. Good stuff. Man, it has been a minute. I've had a crazy July. And a lot of travel. Had a little vacation with the family. That was nice. I got some like crazy bug bites on my leg, which, you know, what are you going to do when the mosquitoes love you? But I am super excited to have you guys back here. This is my first live stream in a while. And so hopefully we're going to have just kind of a good kind of, you know, free flowing conversation. What I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about kind of college recruiting and kind of making it to the next level. You know, but depending on how the conversation goes, we can kind of move from there because I love taking questions from you guys specifically. So light up that chat box on the side. I love to know, you know, the questions you want, the things that you're trying to do and the things that you're trying to accomplish, because at the end of the day, like the reason why I love Shot Mechanics and doing what we do is because I just like helping people. I like helping all the players and athletes out there that are trying to accomplish their dreams and, you know, do their thing, because I was once like right in those exact same, you know, situations. So awesome. Love to have you guys all here. Thanks for showing up. And hopefully we're going to, you know, get a decent little number here on this live stream. But very first off, before we jump into it, if in the description of this video, I put a link. It's shotmechanics.com/Captain U. Captain U is the sponsor of this video. And basically, Captain U is a recruiting kind of profile platform where basically it allows you to connect directly with college coaches. So you can be like, hey, I'm playing in this AAU tournament, or hey, here's my highlight tape. And then that way you can kind of connect directly to them. So it's a 100% free profile to sign up. All you got to do is fill out your information, tell them, you know, your age, your class, your you know, position, all that sort of stuff, and then set up that free profile so you can start connecting with college coaches. Again, 100% free, 0 credit card required to sign up. And as an added bonus, they're going to give you free access to my Captain U coaching, Captain U Recruiting Academy. So basically what I did was I went together and I put a free recruiting academy that includes, you know, how to contact coaches, what to say to them when you do contact them, how to get on their radar, how to stay on their radar, all that sort of stuff. It's actually like really high level content. And I created it for them for people who sign up for the profile for free. And also, you know, if you sign up for a free profile, it ends up supporting us because they pay us per person who signs up. So it's kind of a win-win. Number one, you get a sweet recruiting profile for free. Number two, you get the Captain U Recruiting Academy 100% free, and you don't have to enter your credit card at all until you're ready to upgrade your membership if you want like the elite level stuff inside of the program. So super great stuff. Description down below. Check it out. It's good for your game. It's good for us at Shot Mechanics. It helps us keep the light on, and it's good for our sponsors so they keep coming back, and I can keep making videos for you guys. So awesome to have y'all here. So let's talk about recruiting a little bit. What I want you to do is light up the chat and the comments down here, and let me know what age you are right now. I'm just curious, kind of what age the players are. That way, it can kind of make my answers a little bit better depending on where we go. No, wrong side of my cup here. 15, 13, 19, 16, 11, 15, 13, 24. Ooh, I got it. Cool. 13, 16, 10. Awesome. So it looks like the vast majority, with a few kind of here and there, you know, outside one way or the other, it looks like most people are kind of in that 13 to 16 age range, you know, with a little bit kind of here and there on either side, which is perfect because that's actually around the time when you want to start kind of thinking about your recruiting process. I'd say, you know, right out of the gate, the number one mistake that players make when it comes to getting recruited and, you know, landing a college scholarship is that they wait too late, right? They wait till their junior year of high school, their senior year of high school to really kind of get into it. When in all actuality, you want to start the process early on. You want to start to get on coaches' radars from an early standpoint. That way, as you grow and as you get older, you can start to see, you know, what college coaches are a good fit, what coaches aren't, et cetera, so forth. And they're going to be able to know you longer, right? Most coaches aren't just looking at their recruiting class for the next year. They're looking down the line. So definitely number one, you got to start your recruiting process early, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. That's definitely where you want to start getting on some college radar. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through. Now, let's take a question from you guys. So let me know what sort of question you have about recruiting, getting to play college basketball, any of that sort of process, and I'll see if I can give you a decent answer. And I went to Starbucks today, not a sponsor, but this thing's pretty good. And they got this funky lid, which I think is their thing because they did away with straws. But a straw is plastic, and this is plastic. So I don't really understand the difference. But what are you going to do? All right, let's see here. Let's see if we got some good questions here. All right. Coach, I'm going to try for team. Nice. All right, so somebody wants to know, let's see where'd that one go. Sauce Gods with a Z on the end wants to know, how do you set yourself apart from all the other athletes who are trying to achieve the same goal as you, in parentheses, the NBA, right? And at the end of the day, that's everybody's goal, right? Everybody wants to play basketball for a living, and the NBA is the top level. So good question. Number one, athletically, if you can set yourself apart from everybody else, that's going to help. So really focusing on your nutrition, focusing on your body. What a lot of people don't realize is that the difference between players that play college basketball and the players that don't, or the players that make the NBA and the players that don't, is like a razor thin margin. It's very small. And so a lot of times people might say, hey, I'm just going to eat hot Cheetos and I'm going to drink Mountain Dew, and like it is what it is. I've got a good metabolism. That might be fine. But the problem is, the difference between making a team, the difference between a scholarship, the difference between making the NBA is so razor thin. In fact, inside of the NBA, the difference between being a multi-time all-star and just being a rotation player, razor thin, right? A lot of people just assume that like everybody's so much better, but really the separators are that small. So really make sure that you're kind of paying attention to details. And if you actually want it, you got to start paying attention to the things that are going to separate you. So like I mentioned, your training, your skill development, your nutrition, right? All these things play huge parts. And that's just going to get you the opportunity. That's not going to allow you to even like totally get there, but it's going to give you the opportunity to kind of, separate you from somebody else. So really pay attention to your full game, develop your weaknesses, and then make sure that you're kind of, actually putting the time and effort into it. I get a lot of players that are like, hey, how come I got cut from the team? Or how come I didn't get any scholarship offers? And I was like, well, how many days a week did you work out in the summer? And they're like, one, maybe 1.5, depending on the week. And it just doesn't work like that, right? Basketball is a competitive sport, and there's a lot of people putting time and effort. And so you got to put that same time and effort in. Good question, though. Crazy crossover. It's your boy. What up? Okay, so I got to slow this chat down. You guys are going crazy. All right. Ants of J says, how do you motivate yourself to play or train more often? So I always, I waffle back and forth on this because sometimes I'm not as motivated as I'd like to be. Sometimes I am. What I would say generally is if you need a bunch of extra motivation, then you probably don't want it that bad, in all honesty, right? Generally, the reason why you're super motivated is because you really want it. Take a look at like Shot Mechanics, for example, as a company and as a basketball training, kind of outlet. The reason why we grew and we are what we are is because I really wanted it. Like, I didn't want to have another job. I didn't want to just do a normal 9 to 5. Like, sure, it was okay for some people, but for me personally, I wanted to help and reach as many people as I possibly could get better at basketball. And so because I wanted it, that meant I got up early in the morning to shoot videos at like 4 a.m. because that was the only time I could get gym space. It means that I would stay up really late editing the videos because when I first started, it would take me like 4 or 5 videos to edit one video because I wasn't very good at it. So that's an example of I really wanted it, so I went after it, right? My motivation was that I really wanted it. If you don't have the motivation, it might mean that you don't actually want it, and that's okay. Like, a lot of people think that they need to really want it, and that's fine. Like, it's okay if you don't. If you just want to play basketball to have fun, hang around your friends, and that sort of thing, that's awesome. That's awesome. It will last you a lifetime if that's what you want to do. But if you're not motivated to work out and get better, then that's okay. But just know that you're probably not going to get the results you want to get. Good question, though. Let's see here. Oh, where'd that one go? I think I saw a good one. Can you get... Okay, Simon J. Gaming wants to know, can you get to the NBA by D2 or D3 or NAI? So basically what he's asking, can you still make it to the NBA if you don't play at a Division I university? Great question. And what's awesome is when I was just down at Summer League, I was talking to a guy I know named Jacob Wiley, who he's actually went to the same college as cameraman Jake, the guy who edits all our videos. And it's a tiny, small NAIA college in Idaho. So I'm from Idaho, and it's a tiny, small college called Lewis Clark State College. And it's NAIA, and he played there. And, you know, he didn't really play a lot of basketball in high school. He was more of like a track guy, kind of picked it up late. So he ended up going to an NAIA school just based off of his athleticism. And then he worked and ended up transferring to a D1 his last year, and then now he's in the NBA. So he played for the Brooklyn Nets a couple years ago. He's kind of a D-League overseas guy, kind of in that range. Really good dude. But so he's a great example of, you know, the school you go to doesn't really mean anything, right? There's a ton of guys that go play at the University of Kansas that never play in the NBA. There's a ton of guys that go play in, you know, University of North Carolina that never make it to the NBA. So really the school you go to doesn't matter near as much as the fit that you go to, right? A lot of times it's better to go to a lower level school if the program fits your game and fits, you know, how you play. A great example of that is, like, let's look at point guards from this last year's draft, right? Let's look at Trae Young and Trayvon Duval. So a lot of you guys know I do some consulting for Trayvon Duval. Great kid. I think he's going to be really, really good. But he went to a situation at Duke that didn't fit his skill set that well, right? He was surrounded by a bunch of other stars as well. He didn't really get to do what he does best, and so he didn't get to shine, right? Because that's the school that he ended up going to. Now, if you look at somebody like Trae Young, he goes to Oklahoma. Oklahoma hands him the car keys, says, shoot as much as you want, play make, do your thing. We're going to get out of your way. And all of a sudden he's looking like a top 5 pick, you know, and Trae's great, but it's a really good, you know, it's a really good kind of story to think about. The fit is much more important than the name, right? If I gave you the choice, do you think it would be better to play at Duke or Oklahoma? Most everybody's probably going to say Duke because they're kind of considered a higher level program. But when you look at it, the fit was so much better for Trae going to Oklahoma, or Trae Young going to Oklahoma. Sorry, talking about two Traes is kind of confusing. Going to Oklahoma, that he was able to shine, and that in turn raised his draft stock even more. So think about that. Think about fit. You know, that can also come into play if you're playing for an AAU team, if you're playing for a high school, whatever it is. Think about your skill set, what you do best, and try to go to a team that works best for that. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent on that one, but I think we did okay. All right. Good questions today. You guys got some serious good questions. Let's see here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions on recruiting. Oh, there's a good one. Okay. Shandon Johnson wants to know, how do you get on college coaches' radar as a high schooler? Good question. So I would say the biggest mistake that most players make when it comes to trying to play college basketball is that they're passive, right? They're passive about getting on coaches' radars. They just assume, like, hey, I'm just going to play, and like I'll play AAU and I'll play school ball, and hopefully, you know, a college coach notices me, and then, you know, maybe he'll give me a scholarship. It doesn't work like that. What you have to do is you have to put yourself on a college coach's radar, right? They're not just going to come to you. A lot of people just assume that you get, you know, a bunch of letters in the mail from colleges if you're pretty good. And that only happens if you're like the top level guys. If you're a little bit further down, you're going to have to go out and hustle for that scholarship a little bit. So to get on somebody's radar, you can't wait for them to come to you. You've got to go to them. Shameless plug. That's one reason why I really, really like Captain U, is because it makes it super easy, because you have direct email like contact with college coaches from every university inside of the United States. So that's what's really, really cool about that. You know, when I was growing up, so I'm 32. Sorry, I just had a birthday. I'm 32. And when I was trying to play college basketball, to get a hold of coaches was really hard. So what I ended up having to do was I had to like physically mail letters to people. I had to try to email them, but at the time, like, a lot of coaches weren't really using their emails that much. And so it was tough because I had to, you know, type out a letter, print it, fold it up, find the mailing address for the office, send it off. If I didn't hear back from them, I had to do it again. So we're living in a day and age where you can actually get on a college coach's radar a lot easier. But you got to still make sure that you're getting on their radar, not that they're, finding you. A lot of times you can cut the line and get way ahead of other people in the recruiting process if you reach out to them and you keep in contact with them rather than them like just randomly finding you at an AAU tournament or something like that. Good question though. Sakari Parker says, what about Alabama College? I'm guessing that question is Alabama College in Captain U, and I'm pretty sure Captain U has like every single college where you can have like a direct email line to the assistant coaches and that sort of stuff. So it's really cool. When you set up your free profile, you can put in like your highlight tape, your GPA, your position, like all that sort of good stuff, like your awards if you've got them. And so they can kind of get to know you before they even get to see you play, which is pretty sweet. What up? I see a couple people wishing happy birthday. Thank you. Feeling young as ever. Let's see here. All right, so Ansel Acosta, sorry if I butchered that name, wants to know how good do you have to be to get into a high school team? Now, this really depends mostly on your high school, where you live, and the competition that goes there. So if you're trying to make, a 6A, 5A, I can't remember where California goes to, California team in Los Angeles, you probably got to be pretty good. If you're playing at a 1A school in Idaho where I live, where there's, maybe 100 kids in the entire school, you don't have to be that good. It kind of just depends on what high school you're at and where. It really just kind of depends more than anything. So it's kind of hard to answer that question. I would say you have to have like at least a little bit of skill to make a high school varsity team nowadays, pretty much anywhere. But for the most part, it's going to depend on, where you're at. Good question. Blake Bever says Tennessee College. I'm assuming so. They literally have like almost every single college. Alabama, nice. Regression says, what does 6A mean? So generally like high school, for states, they break school size up into classification. So like here in Idaho, 5A is the biggest high schools. So they take the biggest high schools and they group them in 5A. They all play against each other to play state championships. Then they take the next size of high schools down and they make them 4A and they all play against each other. Then they take 3A, put all them against each other, 2A all against each other, et cetera, so forth. So generally basically means like if you've only got 100 kids in your high school, you're not going to play the teams that have 2,000 kids in their high school, if that makes sense. Because generally, the more kids you have in your high school, the more or the better the team's going to be. I Only Combo says, love your videos, coach. Thank you so much for watching. I love making them for you guys. Literally, this is like the best job on the planet. Adietha Nayar says, does GPA matter for college? Like what grade? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely GPA matters. So what a lot of players don't realize is that the grade you get, especially in high school, will determine what kind of scholarships you can get at the, kind of college level. So a lot of people just assume that if you're good at basketball, you can make it on the college team. But number one, coaches don't want people that aren't at least decent in the classroom, because if you're academically ineligible, you're not going to be able to play. The big universities, they have like tutors and everybody who will like help guys out. So even the guys that aren't very smart can still get like decent enough grades to play. But most colleges, if you've got bad grades in high school, unless you're some sort of freak athlete or just a crazy basketball player, they're not going to care if you've got terrible grades, because what good is giving you a scholarship if you're academically ineligible, right? It just doesn't make any sense to a coach. So why am I going to use a scholarship on this guy when he might not even be able to play if he can't get his grades together? And if you can't handle high school grades, then you probably aren't going to be able to handle college grades and playing basketball at the same time, which is almost like a job in and of itself. So, that's one thing to think about is grades are important. You don't have to be a straight A student by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, even if you're like a C student, you can get it done, but coaches aren't going to give you the benefit of the doubt if your grades aren't in line. Vincent Cabata, what up? Sell me some lollipops, Poppy. I don't even know what that means, but all right. All right, Mr. Apollo says, how do I get my name out in the basketball community. That's a good question. What do you mean? Like to coaches? Are you older and you're a trainer? What do you mean by that? How to become famous? I don't know. Am I famous? I don't think I'm. I don't even know on that one. Trying to look for the follow-up answer. Oh, Scroll. I'm 13 in 8th grade. So let's see here. How do I get my name out there in the basketball community? So if you're 13, you're in 8th grade, to get your name out in the basketball community, right, depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to go to college, if you're trying to get on an AAU team, I would probably definitely go the AAU route. I would try to get on kind of like a prestigious AAU team if at all possible, because a lot of times, especially in like the ball is life and like mixtape culture that we're living in, that's where a lot of times people get found out, they get known, they start building a following, that sort of stuff. So I would probably try to find the best AAU team in your area, get on that, and then hopefully you can get some clout. Also, looks like we've got some new people to the stream. Don't forget, if you go to the link in the description down below, shopmechanics.com/CaptainU, you get a free recruiting profile from my guys over at Captain U that help you get in contact directly with college coaches. Free, no credit card required, and they're going to send you access to my recruiting academy, where I walk you through like the tips and tricks that are going to help you get recruited way more than other players. So check that out. And I've got some free drills and like college training for your skills in there as well. So check that out. Okay. YVNG Goat says, how do you plan your workout if you don't have internet and don't know how to get better at basketball? So Shot Mechanics YouTube channel is the best way to go. What I would probably do, if really you have like hardly any resources, I'd get a piece of paper. When you do have some internet, watch a bunch of our videos, depending on what you're wanting to work on. If you feel like you need to work on shooting, ball handling, scoring, whatever it is, try to find some good videos and then write down either on a notepad or on a piece of printer paper or whatever it is, write down the drills that you're going to do, and then just make up the sets and reps that you want to do. If you feel like you really need to get better at something, do more reps of it. So like if you want to work on your three-point shooting, do 20 makes, 30 makes. If you want to get better at your ball handling, do 50, 100 reps, whatever it is, and then just work through it that way. And what you're going to find out is if you can learn how to train your own game, it's going to be a lot easier to get better. Oh, Ryan Harrower says recruiting tips for international players. Ooh, that's a good question. So what a lot of people don't realize is getting college scholarship is actually a little bit difficult, especially because more and more international players are coming through to play in college in the United States. So for international players, this is a great opportunity, a great time. I would recommend setting up a Captain U profile anyways, keeping that in mind. Now, there might be a section where it asks for a phone number. I can't remember if that's one of the things they have. And back when we promoted Captain U before, like it had a spot for a phone number and international players couldn't put theirs in because it didn't work and it was kind of a mess. So if you get there and it asks for a phone number, just put like 888-888-888-888 or whatever. Just make one up to get it in there. And then that's going to allow you to still set up your free profile. So with international players, it's about connecting with coaches and showing, kind of just like I talked about before, taking the reins and taking the initiative. A lot of players are playing overseas and they're thinking like, well, I just got to play on my local team and hope that somebody realizes who I am or thinks I'm good. And then they tell somebody, and then before you know it, I go to the United States. And granted, you can get there through a pipeline like that, but it's way, way, way harder. What I would do instead is I would use social media, email, and tools like Captain U to really start reaching out to coaches and figuring out how you can do it from there. So, instead of just waiting for somebody to find you, let's say you're in Lithuania, instead of staying in Lithuania and just like kind of waiting for somebody to get you, then what you can do instead is you can, maybe make, workout videos of yourself and post them on Instagram. Maybe you take your highlights, post them on Instagram, and then maybe send them to DMs to college coaches. It might take a little bit of extra time, but it's something that's going to work a lot better than if you just kind of sit around and wait for somebody to happen. So be proactive. Coaches aren't going to necessarily just take an American player over you because they're American. They're going to take the best player they can find. And if that's you and you live in Lithuania or you live in Greece or you live in Spain or wherever it is, they're going to want to have you there. But it's about taking that initiative and going out and showing them what you got. So Captain U, I highly recommend it because you can really, really connect with these coaches. Like seriously, easier than ever before. If you really want to play college, that's what you got to do. But for a lot of players, if you can get yourself in front of them via social media, email, all that sort of stuff, that's where you kind of got to start. Let's see here. All right, so Aditya Nair says, I want to be a college coach. How do I get there? Good question. There's a few different ways to go about it. Generally, the best way to be a college coach is to start as a graduate assistant. So you go to college, and then while you're still in college, you become, they call it a graduate assistant, meaning you're working on your graduate degree, and then you can also be like kind of one of the lower level assistants. Generally, what people do is from a graduate assistant spot, then maybe they go get a basketball operations job, which is kind of the guy who, does the scheduling for the team and kind of the overall managerial stuff. And then they work through there from a basketball operations guy to maybe an assistant coach, to associate coach, to a head coach. So it's kind of it's a ladder that you generally climb. And that's kind of the tried and true way to do it. Now, with that being said, there's other ways to go about it. You can, you could like for me, I had college coaching offers just from like building this online brand and people take notice. So, you could do something like that. If you became a good trainer on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever, you might have opportunities to become a college coach doing that sort of thing too. Other than that, kind of the only real way to go about it is to become like a really successful high school coach and then make a jump. So, sometimes we'll see, guys that become high school coaches, they build a program, they do really well, and then they get an opportunity to become an assistant at a college, and then they can work their way up. So really it just kind of depends, you know what I mean? There's a few different ways to go about it. The general one is to be a grad assistant to a basketball operations, to an assistant, to a head coach. That's kind of the way it goes. And sometimes it can take a little bit of time. One of my really good buddies, one of my first roommates, just got his first head coaching job. So we're 32 right now. He just got his first head coaching job at 32, which is actually pretty young. A lot of people don't tell 35, 40 if they ever get it at all. So good question. Do NBA scouts go to both college and university games? They do. So the thing about the NBA is there's a lot of scouts out there, and they're always looking for talent. So generally, if you can play and you get yourself in front of their eyes, they're going to notice you. So depending on where you live in the world, it's going to be a little bit different, kind of that pipeline that you want to try to get into. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, even if you're playing at a small college, you can still get looked at and you can still make it happen. Think about like if we think about the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trailblazers right now, right? Two teams that are known for having maybe the two best backcourts in the NBA, give or take. Maybe Houston's right there now. But if you look at Golden State Warriors and Portland Trailblazers, we've got the four guards in those backcourts are Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, and CJ McCollum, right? All those guys are really, really good. They're either like superstars or borderline all-stars. And if you look at all of them, right? Steph Curry went to Davidson, not a big school. Klay Thompson went to Washington State University. That's actually where I went, not known as a basketball school, right? Kind of a lower level D1 in most people's opinion. You look at, who else I say? Oh, Damian Lillard went to Weber State, also not known as like a big basketball school or powerhouse. And if you look at CJ McConnell, he went to, I'm just not Creighton, I'm spacing on Lehigh. He went to Lehigh, which is also not a very well-known school. So you can get noticed pretty much anywhere. It just depends on how your game speaks for itself, and that's what ends up getting translated. Good question, though. All right, if you live in Colorado, can I still get attention from Juan Avalos? Absolutely. We are living, listen, what you guys don't understand, what you guys just don't understand is you are living in the best time. literally the best time ever to be trying to market yourself and get yourself to be noticed, no matter where you're at, right? It doesn't matter if you're in Mexico or the Philippines or Spain or Portugal or Argentina or anywhere. Because the power of the internet has allowed people to connect, you can show off your talents and get noticed no matter where you're at, right? So if you have a game, where you drop 50 points or whatever, put it up on your social media, put it in Captain U, email it out to people, right? Do what you got to do to get noticed. No matter where you're at in the world, there's not a better time. Literally, when I was your guys' age and I was trying to get recruited, for me to get noticed, I had to go to a AAU tournament with like hundreds of other players. After that, I had to try to find the assistant coach's email information. Most of them didn't even check their email. And so I had to like handwrite them letters or type them out, print them and send them to them, right? I had to stuff envelopes, put stamps on them, do the whole thing. It was a pain. It was crazy hard. And I put way more into it than most people did to try to get spots. So no matter where you're at, you can 100% get attention. It doesn't matter what state you live in, what country you live in, depending on what country your technology might be here or there. So that can make it a little harder. But generally where there's a will, there's a way. All right. Question from Technical Nickel wants to know which college is best for future in basketball. So kind of an interesting question. What college is best for your future in basketball? The best college is the one that you can get into and that's the best fit, right? A lot of people want to they say hey, I want to go to Duke or I want to go to North Carolina or Kansas, or they have these big names. The best college is the one that needs you and the one where your skill set fits. So that might be an NAIA level. It might be a D2 level. It might be a JUCO. No matter where it is, right? The best one's the best fit for you. So keep that in mind. All right, Sonic Boom 363 wants to know, how do people who never play basketball till the 9th grade get to the NBA? Till 9th grade get to the NBA? Practice, work. What a lot of players don't understand is that junior high, 6th, 7th, 8th grade means almost nothing nowadays, right? Generally, you maybe haven't hit your growth spurt yet. Maybe you haven't even started playing. The earlier you start, the better. But even if you're not getting started till high school, that's okay. You can make up for it with your work ethic and getting better and trying to, develop your game. Good example of this is a guy who I played high school basketball with. His name was Josh Heitfeld. He was not very good right up. He was kind of goofy and gangly, and he was okay, but he was nothing special. But in 9th grade, he got a little bit of a growth spurt, and that dude carried a basketball around with him everywhere he went. Literally, he brought a basketball to class. He'd shoot at lunchtime. He'd shoot before school. He'd shoot after school. He'd shoot on the weekends. He'd do his thing. And, he ended up growing to be 6'10", 6 feet, 10 inches tall, which that helped him a lot. But he ended up going to play in Gonzaga University and had a long overseas pro career because he worked on his game, and he really didn't develop or even start developing until 9th grade. So, that's a great example of, as long as you put in the work, it doesn't really matter when you start, as long as you have that passion, as long as you have that drive. Good question. All right. What colleges, where'd that one go? What colleges, I'm sorry I can't say your username because I lost it here, but the gist of the question was, what colleges will look at you if you're not above 6 feet tall? Oh, Fatel Alpha. There you go. Which will colleges look at you if you're not above 6 feet tall? They will, right? It's just a matter of what colleges. And, the shorter you are, the better you have to be to play at a higher level. So if you want to play at Duke and you're under 6 feet tall, you got to be really, 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 really good. If you want to play at Kansas and you're under 6 feet tall, you got to be really, really, really good. But there are a ton of under 6 feet players in the other divisions in NAIA and D2, D3, JUCO. Some of the best basketball players I've ever actually played with, as far as skill and talent go, have played at those lower levels and are under 6 feet tall. So one thing you want to think about, and I think, I have a pretty big international audience that maybe doesn't understand how the college system works. is there different levels to college. So Division I is the highest level. That's the Dukes, the Kansases, like that's the NCAA tournament that you see every year. Those are the biggest universities. Those are the hardest ones to play at. That's where the best players go to. But underneath that, there's Division II, there's Division III, there's something called NAIA Division I, something called NAIA Division II, and then there's JUCO or junior college. And so a lot of players, they just think like I've got to make D1. That's my only option. But it's really not. To play at the college level and to still kind of be on the map, you still have all those other options: D2, D3, NAIA1, NAIA2, JUCO. So you've still got a bunch of options out there that a lot of players, number one, don't even know about. Number two, just write off because it's not like the best. But every year there's people that play in the NBA Summer League and get drafted from, these smaller schools. It's just a matter of getting your name out there. So good question. Kind of learn a little bit about the United States and how like kind of the college ranking goes. And that's one reason why I love Captain U, another shameless plug, is because inside it's not just the D1 schools. It's like the JUCOs, the NAIs, all that sort of stuff. So literally you can go in, you can create your profile, you can email a coach. It's got like a standard template. It automatically swaps out the coach's name, and then boom, you send one to this school, that school, that school. In fact, when you sign up for your free profile, they ask you what schools you're interested in. So you can choose by state, you can choose by location, you can choose by size, all sorts of cool stuff. So Captain U, link in the description, shopmechanics.com/Captain U, free profile. It's dope. Let's see here. Curran Pardo says, what colleges have the most scouts come to them? Generally, the thing that's cool about now is you don't really need the scouts. Like the scouts have their kind of eye and their pulse on everything. Generally the most colleges would have things like Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, the blue bloods, the big schools. Those are the ones that generally most people are watching. But if you can play and you're at a small school, it doesn't matter. People will find you. Can D2 and D3 go to the NBA? Absolutely they can. You just got to be good enough. All right, good question here. Christian King wants to know, can D2 and D3 go to the NBA? Duncan Robinson, who you guys might remember played at the University of Michigan this last year, he just signed a contract with the Miami Heat. Duncan Robinson started his career playing Division III. So he played D3, started, and he ended up through like a weird series of events. He ended up transferring to Michigan and then making it to the NBA after that. So a lot of times where you start isn't where you're going to finish. And so absolutely, you can make it through D2 or D3 to the NBA. Plenty of guys have done it. All right. Michael, sorry, I can't pronounce your last name, says, say you have a choice of playing for a team on the EYBL, so that's Nike's AAU circuit, or the Adidas Gauntlet. Which would you choose? I think it probably doesn't matter that much, but if I had to choose, I would probably choose the EYBL. I think they still, the Nike series, I think they have a little bit more clout still, and I think that's where some of the better players end up playing. So that's not 100% true all the time, but I think out of the two, if you had to weigh one or the other, I would probably go EYBL because I think Nike still has a little bit more clout and that sort of stuff. Supreme Nick says, Shop Mechanics, do you have any conditioning drills to get in better shape? I have a few on the channel. I'm actually, it's cool you just asked me this. I just had a meeting with one of my buddies in town here who's like a world-class strength and conditioning coach. Really, really good stuff. He's got a phenomenal facility here in Boise where I live. And he actually just released an app called Staple, which is pretty dope. It's kind of like Instagram for meal tracking, fitness plans, and all that sort of stuff. And so he's going to come on the channel, and we're literally just scheduled next Wednesday. We're going to shoot a bunch of videos to help you guys with strength and conditioning stuff. How to get your vertical up, your first step explosiveness, your speed, all that sort of good stuff. So I don't have a ton right now. I've got a few kind of here and there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an expert who actually knows, because I'm not like the most athletic dude on the planet. That's just my genetics and what I've been given, So I'm going to bring in some experts to kind of help you out. Sorry, I'm looking at a bunch of questions here, trying to figure out the best ones to answer. You guys got some great questions. I got to tell you what, I am so fortunate to have people who watch our videos and engage with our content that are like, have good questions and smart questions. Sometimes I'll see these guys and they'll get on, live streams and stuff, and there's just dumb questions left and right. But you guys all got some serious good questions here. Here's a good one. Oso Games. If I'm a senior year, is it too late to get recruited? Absolutely not. It is never too late to get started, right? The only time it's too late is after it's too late. I actually know guys who, went through high school, weren't recruited, worked on their game a little bit. Maybe they developed more after high school. Maybe they got stronger, faster, all that sort of good stuff. And then they ended up playing college when they were like 21, 22, rather than, 18, 19 or whatever it is. So never too late to get recruited. The whole idea is if you can get started earlier, it's better. But if you do it smart, it's never too late. So even if you're a senior or junior, or even if you're out of high school, you can still play college basketball. It doesn't matter if you're 25 years old. And if you're a better player, a coach will probably take you, right? So I know a lot of people develop a little bit later. Me personally, I got a lot better when I was like 20 years old than when I was 18 years old. Like if I would have been as good at 20 as if I would have been as good at 18 as I was at 20, I would have had way more college offers. And so a lot of times, people are going to develop a little bit slower. So definitely never too late. I definitely would recommend having some sort of tool in your quarter like Captain U, just because it's going to kind of help you, turbocharge that process a little bit faster. All right, Coach Colin, can someone get a scholarship at the age between 11 and 13? So Commander KT22X Ninja wants to know. So if you're between the ages of 11 and 13, I think you can get a verbal offer from a college, but very rarely will you see that. Like if a kid will come up and it'll be like the number one ranked, prospect in the nation, sometimes you'll see that they'll like verbally commit to somebody, but it doesn't really mean anything because they can always change their mind. So at this point in time, you can't really get a scholarship at 11 to 13, but you can kind of lay the foundation to help you get there. Oh, King Westbrook. Good question. Funny username. Wants to know thoughts on showcases. Good question. So for those of you who don't know, showcases are something that we have, especially in the United States, quite a bit, where like, it'll be a college recruiting showcase where you'll go, you'll play, you'll maybe do drills, and there's college coaches to be there. Now, the thing is with showcases, there's some that are legitimate and pretty good, and there's some that are just kind of money grabs where they're just trying to get you to pay to come, and maybe there's just like a couple coaches there. Maybe those coaches aren't even looking for players. So I'd say it really depends on the showcase. What I would try to do is I do your homework. You know what I mean? I'd see, what kind of coaches are going to the showcase. I'd see what the showcase was like last year. Maybe check out their website, check out their photos, check out their social media, because most of these showcases will have social media. And if it looks like there's not really college coaches in attendance, then it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't get, too in-depth into the showcases. What we see a lot of the times, I had a couple players go to showcases this last spring. And what we see is like there's not much talent at some of these showcases. And so even if you're good, it kind of doesn't look like you're that great because you're playing against weak competition. So instead of thinking about showcases, there's some good ones out there. But instead, what I would try to do is I would try to get on a competitive AAU team. That's going to get you more exposure in the long run for sure. Good stuff. How long have we been rolling here? 43 minutes. Whoa. I got to jump off. My wife's texting me here. I got to get off the stream. But if you guys like these live streams, let me know in the comments right about nows. And I'm going to try to start doing more of them. I just like getting on here, answering questions, helping you guys kind of face to face, the best I can. I know I can't get to everybody, which is, super unfortunate. Hopefully I can answer as many questions as I can. So I try to pick questions that I feel like I see a lot or that a lot of people are asking. That way I can give, as many people as much value as possible. And also, don't forget, if you haven't, sign up for Captain U. Shopmechanics.com/CaptainU. Link in the description down below. Seriously, like every time I show somebody it, especially people in my generation who grew up there, like minds are blown that it's like so easy to get in contact with these college coaches now, where before it was so much harder. So think about like if you get Captain U, everybody else who you're competing against for that scholarship doesn't, you automatically have an advantage right out of the gate. And you get Crazy Crossovers wants to know, is my wife hot? I think so. It's one of the reasons I married her, and she's awesome. But you know, one of the things that people don't realize is if you can get an advantage on the recruiting trail, makes it a lot easier. Live stream, awesome. Love the streams. Is your wife hot? Oh, more live streams. Bye. You guys are awesome. Much love, Splash Army. Until next time, I'm Coach Colin, signing off. Splash on.